Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Tanya and I am a watercolor and acrylic artist. And one thing I've been working on the last couple years with my watercolors is collages. And I created this collage yesterday. I'm really into little houses, I'd say about the last year or two. And I've been painting them in the watercolor and then I've been cutting them out like this. So I'll just fill up a whole sheet with houses facing different ways. Like this one's facing forward, this one's facing sideways. So I'll just fill up a whole sheet with houses, and I've done a series with even smaller houses that are only about an inch tall. And I've been cutting them out, and then I've been doing a bunch of florals. As you can see here, I have a whole bunch of different florals, and I keep them in a box like this. And I even do some organic shapes. And I'll just cut them out, and I'll just put them in this box and just save them for when I'm ready to create a painting. And then I'll just pull them all out. Oh, and this side's all my leaves. So I have leaves on one side and flowers on the other. And then I have a bigger box like this with some of my bigger flowers. So that's for maybe a bigger painting. And what I do is I just cut them out and I put them in those boxes, and I just save them for when I want to do a painting. So I created this one yesterday. So I have all these flowers and trees are cut out. The only thing on the back sheet is my background, the hills, and the sky and the moon. And then everything else I layer on and glue on. So I just wanted to show you my process a little bit today of how I create these. So to begin with, I'll just take my sheet of paper, and I've just got plain watercolor paper here. You can use Arches. I bought the bow hung watercolor paper recently, and I love that one as well. This is just a generic watercolor page. It's nothing special about this one. If you want to take a pencil and just kind of sketch in where you want your, I know I'm going to be using this house. That's all I know right now. So I think I'm going to sketch in some hills around it. Oh, and then the frame that I'm using is a 5x7, and I know that this is an 8, so I want to kind of cut this down to a 7, so I know when I go to frame it, I'm not cutting off too much of my painting. So I'm just gonna do a little line right up here. All right, so I know right now I am gonna want this little house somewhere around there. So I am going to just lightly sketch in where I want some of these hills, and maybe another one coming up this way. And for some reason, I'm really into these hills lately. I just think it gives a lot of interest and depth. You could play around with the color, the texture of each hill. And I think I'll save the rest for the sky. No, well, maybe one more. And then I want the sky up there because I'm going to put a moon, I think, right up there. All right, so I want it something like that. And then I am just gonna, you could take a stencil, I'm just gonna freehand a circle the best I can. And go ahead and lighten up your lines. All right, and I think I want, I'm trying to think about what colors I want here. First, I'm gonna go ahead and get my first hill nice and wet with just some water. And I'm using a size 12. You can use whatever size brush you want, depending on your sheet of paper. All right, I think I'm gonna do this hill a nice deep indigo. And I've got my palette here, and I've got some indigo, and I'm also gonna bring in some Payne's Gray. I really like that mixture of indigo and Payne's Gray. Gives you this nice deep blue. Very grayed down blue. And I'm gonna put a little bit more indigo up towards the top. Now, indigo is such a beautiful, vibrant color. Very dark, it goes on really, really strong. So if you don't like that strength of it, just water it down on your palette. All right, and we're gonna skip this hill because this one's wet. And we're gonna go on to this one here, and I'm gonna get this one nice and wet as well. I've got a little blue still on my brush. And I think I'm gonna wanna pull in Who do I want to pull in? Oh, you know what? I've got this really pretty, this is an ultramarine violet. It's a beautiful color. It's like a purpley blue. Look at that. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and let that dry. And then we can always layer it a little bit again later. All right, I'm gonna skip that hill and I'm gonna go on to my, my sky here. Now I'm gonna put some water, but I also wanna go around that moon, or you can make it a sun, whatever you want. Because I want that to be a really light part of my painting. And I'm gonna go in with almost the same mixture that I did down here, but I think I'm gonna use a little bit more Payne's Gray than the indigo. I really like stars to show up in my paintings, so that's why I usually go for a nighttime sky, and the darker the color for the sky, the better. And if you want some clouds in here, you can always come in with some water and a clean brush and just dab off. Like that. But I think I'm gonna go in and put even a little bit more Payne's Gray in this area, because I want those stars to show up. But it is gonna be a little bit lighter towards the moon over here, just because the light of the moon is gonna make the sky automatically feel a little bit lighter. Bring that in a little bit. I'm trying to decide what color I wanna go here. Maybe a darker purple. Let's do that. And you know what? I wanna make it a little bit more dark. So I'm gonna add some Payne's Gray to this. There. So this is the purple and the Payne's Gray. And it's really pretty because it kind of just tones it down a little bit. Otherwise, sometimes it just gets a little too bright. All right, and I'm gonna add a little bit more Payne's Gray to my purple. A little bit darker, deeper. And I think I want this one up here just a little bit more vibrant, maybe in more of the yellows. Just because the moon is going to be reflecting on there. So, but I don't want it to be too vibrant. So I'm going to pull in my, I think this is my yellow ochre. And I'm not gonna, my sky is still a little wet here, so I'm not gonna go ahead and put water on my hill first. I'm just gonna go in straight with the paint. See how it's bleeding there a little bit? That's okay. But I do want to just tone it down a little bit. So I am going to add a little bit of that purpley gray to it that I had used here. I'm just going to tone it down a little bit. And if it's a little too much, just go ahead and pull some of it off with just a clean brush and water. Okay, it feels pretty dry, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna use this mixture again. It was the indigo and the Payne's Gray. Just deepen up my colors a little bit here. And that seems a little too bright for this painting. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna tone it down a little bit with, let's see, maybe a little bit of my bluish mixture. There we go. I still want it to be on the purple side, but so basically I added a little bit of my mixture of Payne's Gray and indigo. All right, and I'm gonna deepen up my sky again. Bring it around my moon a little bit, but not too much, because I do want it to look like there's some clouds around this moon. So if you feel like you did a little too much, what you can do is pull with just a clean brush, dab it off on your paper towel. Get back some of those little clouds that you had gotten rid of. and just see how that dries. All right, I am going to take my yellow ochre, and actually what I want to do is I want to wet my moon first. And then I'm going to dip it in my yellow ochre, and I'm just going to go around. And I don't want to fill it in completely because I want there to be some white space showing through so that there's some lights and darks. Okay. And you can start really shaping out your moon a little bit if it was a little bit too rough. Like I said before, you could always use a stencil. Me, I'm not sure if I care too much that it's a perfect circle. It just kind of shows it was hand painted. Okay, I'm gonna let that dry. And I think at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and deepen up this blue down here. I wanted it a little bit deeper. So I'm gonna take a little bit more of my indigo and my Payne's Gray. Okay, so I am not liking the way that this purple hill looks. So I'm gonna change the color a little bit. And I know that white is not something people usually do with watercolor, but I'm gonna add a little bit of white to this and see if I can make it a little bit more milky. It just kind of fogs up the color a little bit. It makes it a little bit more milky and opaque. See, I'm already starting to like that a little bit better. It just, something was off with that hill. Now, white and watercolor, you're never gonna really, use it like you do with acrylics where you wanna get the white of the paper back or anything, or of the canvas. This is just gonna lighten something up for you. That's all. That's all it's gonna do. And I could have taken my brush and just gone over it with water and just lightened up the color that way, but I chose to use white because I wanted it to be more of a milky than lighter. I wasn't really trying to lighten up the color. I was trying to make it a little bit more opaque and a little bit more milky. So that's why I didn't just go over this color with just water. And I think I want to go over this purple once again. I'm just gonna blend it in down here a little bit. There, that's more the look I was going for. Excellent. All right, and I think I'm gonna just darken up my sky a little bit also on this side. And I didn't wet my sky first. I'm gonna take a little bit of just a clean brush and just kind of dab it around so I don't have a distinct line there. All right, so I'm gonna take my house and I'm gonna position it. I don't know if I want it right in the middle. Do I want it covering the moon a little bit? Do I want it more on the side over here? Do I want it a little bit more down? Maybe on the side down a little bit? I'm not 100% sure. So I'm gonna play around with that in a minute. And then I've got my blue trees that I had done before. Ooh, this one's got a lot of nice texture. I think I'm gonna use that one. And do I want the house or the tree on this side of the house? Or do I want it on this side of the house? I'm covering the moon a little bit. So this is the fun part. You just start to play around with how you want things. I'm gonna try it just like that for right now. We can always move it later. And then I've got all sorts of little flowers that I had done, obviously in the past. And I'm gonna bring in some of these. And I'm thinking, do I want green in here? Or maybe, maybe my Black-Eyed Susans I did once. And it's okay if the perspective's off. This is a very whimsical folk arts inspired painting. Doesn't matter. I mean, yes, you want things in the back to look a little bit, smaller, and things in the foreground a little bit bigger. So you want to keep perspective in mind, but you don't have to follow it to a T when you're doing these whimsical paintings. Just so you know the rules, then you can break them. So let's see. Maybe I'll do something like that. So these flowers will be obviously right on the bottom, like they're in the foreground. And if I do have some smaller flowers or leaves poking through on the top, I'll do like maybe a stem just to show that they're still in the foreground, but you can see them a little bit up higher. All right, let's see here. And is one black-eyed Susan enough? Yes, I think for this painting, one black-eyed Susan will be enough. So that's why it's nice just to get a handful of your, look, I even have smaller houses if I wanted to put like a smaller house in the background. That'd be kind of cute too. So I just grab a handful of all my little cutouts and I just start playing around with them. I wonder if I have any more of those cream color ones. I'm gonna move my painting over for a second. And I'm gonna pull a handful of my flowers here and just see if I've got, oh yes, see? I've got a couple more of those cream color flowers in here. There they are. Oh, I could even add a strawberry. All right, push that aside, bring my painting back. And let's see where we want this. Okay, so I'm kind of getting an idea of what I'm going for, but I think I need a little bit more texture in my background because there's something missing right now. So I'm gonna push these little flowers aside. Oh, and I've got this nice one. Ooh, I might actually add that in somewhere. Okay, so I am going to push everything aside and I want to add a little bit more texture to my background because it was throwing me off. It's just too plain. So I'm going to take my, let's see, what size do we want? Let's take our, ooh, let's do this one. I think this is my size, two or three. I don't know. I use this brush so much that it actually pulled the number off. And I think I'm going to want to add a little texture to the background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some lines. And I'm just going to take water on my brush and just work those lines in. I'm going to take a paper towel and lift it up. Look at that. Automatic texture right to your background. I'm just going in little circles until I work some of that paint off my page. And I think this is going to help me with placing flowers. All right, and I think I'm going to do the same thing to this hill. Let's see, how much of this hill do we actually see? Yeah, I think I want to lighten up this hill a little bit too with some, or do I want, no, I'm going to leave that one alone because that's kind of a lighter hill anyways. I'm going to make the lines on this side. And I think I'm going to pull in a bigger brush for this. I'm going to move to my size 7 just because this hill is bigger. The darker your color was on your sheet, the better these lines are going to show up. Because then there's more contrast between the light and the dark. So if you were to put these little lines on a lighter hill, it wouldn't show up as nicely. All right, so that is the lines. I pulled them off nicely. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to just drop on, I'm taking water, and I'm just gonna drop on water onto my paint here. And I just wanna let that soak in a little bit. Okay. And I don't want it on my purple, so I'm gonna pull those off right away. And I'm gonna just let it do its thing. And if you feel like it's not working as well, you can always help it along. Just take a brush and just kind of work that water in a little bit. So wherever you have a little puddle, just kind of work it in with your brush. Otherwise, if you wanna just wait for it to absorb naturally, you can do that as well. I think I'm gonna work some of these in a little bit. And then once you glue your flowers on, if you see that there's an empty space and you want another little dot in there, you can always do that little dot afterwards as well. All right, so now's the fun part. Well, it's all fun, but this is the really fun part, is just trying to place everything. Now see, when I start placing everything, now it's got a little bit more interest in the background with those lines and the texture down here. All right, so I can kind of go ahead and place them where they were before, or where I think they were. But what I could do is, I could just start gluing them down. That way I know, ooh, I kind of like it on this side in front of the tree. And I'm gonna have some leaves here. So go ahead and put it down a little bit. It doesn't have to be perfectly put down, because once you start layering it, you're gonna realize, oh, I don't want that there, or I do want that there. Kind of liking that a little bit. All right, let's see how this goes once we start layering it and gluing it down. All right, so I'm gonna push this aside. And what I use is my tacky glue. You can get this anywhere. And I've said this before, but I use a butcher paper, I'm sorry, on my table. That way I can use it kind of as a palette as well for my glue. And the first thing I think I'm gonna lay down is my tree, because it's behind my house. So I'm gonna just take it, turn it upside down with my finger. I'm just gonna roll on some paint. If you don't like to use your finger, you can use a paintbrush. Just don't use a good paintbrush for this, because you will destroy it with the glue. And then just try and pick it up and place it. And try to just get it right behind my house here. I think that's where it was. Just hold it down for a second. Okay, I'm gonna take my house. I'm gonna do the same thing. And I'm gonna place my house, I think, right like that. Hold it down for a minute. So, if you see that you get a little bit too much glue on your butcher paper here, what you could do, just take your paintbrushes off and roll it. So I'm just gonna slide, I've got this actually on the roll. I'm gonna slide it, and then I'm just gonna fold it over so I cover up some of that glue, so I know not to get my painting all dirty. And actually this part of the paper is wet, so I'm gonna fold it over one more time. There we go. Okay, and now we can start layering. And let's see, I think I had a little purple one over here, and then I had this coming in. Okay, so let's see. Next would be the leaf, because it's underneath here. So I'm gonna take some more glue, and I'm gonna tuck it in under here, kind of like that. I want it coming up a little bit, like that, onto my house. Okay, so now we've got everything dried down pretty nicely. If you see some edges are coming up a little bit, just push them back down. Like I said, until the glue dries completely, it is gonna try to pop off your page. So you just have to keep pressing it down once in a while until it sticks completely. I want some stars in my background, so there's a couple ways I could do this, kind of like what we did with the little texture in the background. Where's my brush? Kind of like what we did with the little texture in the background, and actually I want a little bit more texture showing right in here. So I'm gonna pop in a little bit more with just some water, I'm gonna grab my paper towel. There we go. And let's see. So now I want to do that in my sky. So we can go in, and again, you could do the splatter, or you could just kind of go in and just lay some water down where you think you want some of these stars. Work it in a little bit where you think you want some of them. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my bleed-proof white and I'm gonna move over to a brush that I don't really care about. So let's get one of those. Here's a good one. Just a crafty brush. I'm gonna get my Dr. P.H. Martin's bleed-proof white. I'm gonna put a little bit on the top here. And I'm gonna just gently come in and put a couple little white dots here and there. I'm barely pushing. And it's just gonna make it look like these stars. See how they go on even nicely on the lighter part of the sky? It's just gonna look like these stars maybe are a little bit closer to you than the ones that are a little bit more foggy. Let's see. I'm not sure I want to do any grids on these windows, but maybe I will. Maybe I will. I'm going to move over to a smaller brush. Let's see if I've got one here. Yes. I'm going to add a little bit of water to it, just so it kind of is almost like a milky consistency. I'm going to make some little grids in my windows. And again, you could do this with a Posca marker, you could do this with a Jelly Roll pen. The more detail you add to the house, the more it just brings back a little bit of the house to the foreground. Otherwise, there's so much going on that you kind of lost sight of the house. But now if you do a little bit of details like this, it will bring the house back forward. So it's kind of one of the first things you see. If you want to go ahead and put little shutters on, you can. Oh, another thing, close up your bleed-proof white right away because it will start drying out on you. I think I'm going to put some purple, this one here is a mauve. I think I'm going to go ahead and put some purple shutters on my house. Just kind of brings a little color back into the house. There, that just brought my house forward a little bit. And then I think when it dries, I'm gonna make some little lines in there as well. So once the shutters are dry, you can go in with a white marker. You can go in with archival ink. I'm just gonna put some little lines in my shutters to make it look a little bit more like it's a shutter. Super cute. I really like it. I'm just trying to see. I added a little bit of black pen on this one. I'm trying to think if I want to add a little bit of black pen on anything else, but I don't know. I don't think so. Maybe I'll just put a little circle around my white dot there that I did for the handle. Oh, and I think I want, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little stem here for this flower. So I'm just going to take my water. Again, you could do this with your white Posca marker, green Posca marker. I'm just making a stem here. I'm going to lighten up my paint. And then I'm going to take my, you could take either your white, you could take your white watercolor, or I'm just going to take a little bit of this. Just add like a little stem right there. And there you go. So I just wanted to show you a little bit of my process of making these little landscape collages. And if you liked the video, please give me a thumbs up. Please let me know if you want me to start making more videos like this one, because I'm really enjoying this new little series I've started. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that already. And I'll see you next time. Thanks. Bye.